NBA teams waste no time waiting for a player to develop. It doesn't matter how big a name a former star can be, even if they were high-level all-stars the season before, such as 2008 Allen Iverson with the Nuggets, came off numbers of 26.5 points, 7 assists, a 50-win team, to all of a sudden average under 14 a game 2 years later, and out the NBA for good. The league has no time waiting around hoping an older player bounce back. Instead, will decide to move on to others who's more suited to help the franchise take the next step.
How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Some of the biggest player what-ifs could have been all-time greats robbed of their primes due to injuries. 25-year-old Gilbert Arenas could have been what Damian Lillard turned out to be if it wasn't for his ACL injury, out the league by 30 years old, while Brandon Roy looked like a franchise player for Portland before his knees failed him, while Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady, too many continuous injuries, MVP candidates before age 25, and of course, the legendary Bill Walton, after 1978, never played another game for Portland. He was just 25 then. Could Ben Simmons be next? From being second in Defensive Player of the Year with the first place Sixers, to getting his feelings hurt, then stinking, never becoming his former self, then perhaps out the NBA for good, cause he's been a disaster this season for the Brooklyn Nets at all. I don't see Ben Simmons sticking around the NBA after his contract's over. Who would even want him anyway? Perhaps the biggest fall off from any player we've seen in recent times. Now with that said, let's take a look at 10 former players with the biggest and fastest declines from their peak to being out the NBA just in a blink of an eye.
Steve Francis, former 3-time All-Star of the Rockets, the former second pick of the '99 draft, had one of the best rookie point guard seasons, was supposed to be like Russell Westbrook, flashy and quick handles, one of the best rebounding guards, super explosive to the rim, athletic gifts, had a couple great seasons with Yao Ming, but never took the next step in becoming a true leader, more of an ISO guy than a playmaker, even an all-star starter in 03 and 04, but after Houston hired Jeff Van Gundy, replacing head coach Rudy Tomjanovich, the emotional Francis butted heads with Van Gundy. Being a non-traditional point guard, Jeff demanded Steve to be more of a floor general, went from averaging 21 a game to just 16.6 points, traded in the T-Mac sweepstakes. His last good season in 2005 put up a respectable 21.3 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists as a 27-year-old, but the poor attitude got the best of him. After the Cuttino Mobley trade, his closest buddy, whom he spent 6 seasons with as teammates, a gut punch to his career, became out of control, attitude detrimental to the team, traded to the Knicks by deadline of 2006, couldn't coexist with Stephon Marbury, who had his own issues dealing with head coach Larry Brown, the worst possible fit imaginable, traded again to Portland before signing with Houston, lasted just 10 games in the 08 season before undergoing season-ending quash surgery. Francis ended up having bad surgery and never the same again, out the league by 30, became depressed, fell into a dark place, drank lots of alcohol, took him 4 years to realize his hoops career over. Once his athleticism declined, Father Time wasted zero time with Francis. Ben Gordon of the Detroit Pistons. After his masterful first-round series versus Boston, BG became one of the most dangerous 2 guards in the game at just age 26, coming off his best season with the Bulls. Averages of nearly 21 points, a 500 team, led the team in scoring on a roster with rookie Derrick Rose, 7 postseason games, 24.3 point average, but decided to take his talents to the Motor City. Never came close to sniffing the playoffs again. At just age 26, Gordon was supposed to be a 20 to 25 point scorer, but put up just under 14 a game, 41% from the field, fell off after signing a 5-year $55 million deal, traded to Charlotte, waived in 2014, his last stint with Orlando 2015, out the league by 31, lost his motivation, and in reality, Gordon, a great 6-man on a playoff team, being a streaky scorer, not the type of player to be thrown at a bad team, never cared to produce at a high level after getting his money, a brutal ending to an unfulfilled career. Gordon unfortunately suffers from bipolar disorder, got in trouble with the law numerous times post-NBA career, certainly needs all the help necessary to get things right. Danny Granger with the Indiana Pacers, a promising prospect, the lone bright spot after the Malice era. Jermaine O'Neal started getting injury prone, traded, while the 6'9" small forward improved every season, rose from 7.5 points to 14 a game. then almost 20 to becoming an All-Star by 2009, a bucket getter of nearly 26 points, one most improved player. Before Paul George, Granger was viewed the franchise player, helped put the Pacers back on the map, led them to the playoffs as the 8th seed in 2011, but by 2012, still considered the best on his team, had a 2-1 series lead versus LeBron and Wade's Heat, then at just age 29, became a shell of himself overnight, limited to 5 games in 2013 with knee tendonitis, had surgery, the turning point of his downfall, 29 games with Indy in 2014, off the bench, team had the best start in franchise history, despite the limited role, was still the leader and vet the young guys respected. The whole franchise turned to crap after the Evan Turner trade. Granger waived by the Sixers, lackluster with the Clippers and Heat before retiring. His last 3 seasons, only 76 total games, 7.3 point average, under 3 rebounds, 38% shooting in 20 minutes, a huge part to Paul George's development. Had Granger been healthy in 2014 at age 31, him and PG along with the other good players might have been able to pull off that title, and perhaps none of the locker room drama would have happened. Andrew Bynum, a name you haven't thought of in months, the 7-footer became the youngest player to debut in an NBA game at just 18 years and 6 days old, was supposed to be the face of the center position alongside Dwight Howard. Given his physical gifts and skills, his attitude and laziness, combined with his lack of desire for the game, reasons why he was out the league by 26. 2012 Bynum, literally the best post player in the game, nobody was stopping him when he caught it down low.
Becoming an All-Star to being out the league in 2 years, numbers of almost 19 points, 12 rebounds, 56% shooting at just age 24, made second team All-NBA. From being in the Dwight Howard trade, Bynum just played 26 more games after, a lackluster 8.7 points, 5.6 rebounds, under 42% shooting in 20 minutes, then never heard from again.
Kudos to Kobe and the Lakers organization dealing with the disgruntled immature 7-footer. His knee problems worsened, re-injured his knee while bowling. The start of the process Sixers era, played 0 games for Philly, shot the ball every time at Cavs practice, a negative influence to Roy Hibbert's Pacers, known for getting a haircut halftime locker room of a game. There's a reason why no team wanted to do anything with Bynum again. At the end of his NBA career, Bynum already made over $72 million. Roy Hibbert, an absolute travesty of a downfall. Before there was modern day Ben Simmons, the former 2-time All-Star, considered a top 5 center in the game. 7'2", was never that great offensively. Think of a worse Rudy Gobert, but known for his dominating presence in 2013 against a depleted Tyson Chandler and blocking the breaks out of Melo's dunk Game 6. To pushing prime Miami to 7 games since the Heat had no bigs to stop Hibbert inside. The big fella averaged over 22 points, 10 rebounds that series, an elite rim protector who's slow, tested the limits of verticality. The reason for Indy's #1 ranked defense, his team already having solid wing defenders in Paul George and George Hill, opponents had a nightmare time, 21-12 and 5 blocks to close out New York. First half of 2014, team started 33-7, looked better on D than the 04 Pistons, considered the favorites to win it all pre-All-Star break, but lots of tensions and drama off the court, including ugly rumors surrounding an affair. Team leader Danny Granger traded, Evan Turner and Lance Stevenson started fighting. Hibbert's downfall got worse. Post March 11th, averaged just 8.5 points, 4 rebounds, 34% shooting, got exposed against the A-seeded Hawks. Coach Bud geniusly added 5 players who can all shoot threes, moving Hibbert away from the basket with slow lateral movement, got cooked out there, became useless. 0 points, 0 rebounds Game 6, got blocked by Kyle Korver, a mental breakdown for the ages. Next round, Game 1 versus Washington, 0 points, 5 fouls, 2 turnovers. Nobody thought he'd be worse than the second half of that regular season. Combined with having the destructive and mature Andrew Bynum out there, too much negativity. Hibbert did bounce back a little versus Washington, but was just okay versus Miami. Another 0-point game that series, worst efficiency in a playoff run all time amongst any All-Stars. The league started to shift. Players shot more threes, emphasized small ball. With Hibbert's slowness, made him a liability of a player. Can't shoot, no time to adjust. Stayed 1 more year with the Pacers afterwards before shifted to the Lakers, a 6-5 starting center in Kobe's last season. Played 48 more games, made stops in Charlotte and Denver, and then out the league by 2017. Joakim Noah of the Chicago Bulls, from MVP candidate to having the worst contract in Knicks history.
One of the most forgotten first teamers, won Defensive Player of the Year, averaged 12.6 points, 11.3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, a block and a half, did it all for the 48-win Bulls team. With Derrick Rose still limited by injuries, Joakim simply played his ass off every night in 2014. Had the offense ran around him, already injury prone though, combined with his grueling style of play, played 80 games in 35 minutes, literally aged 5 years faster after that season. Since then, Noah managed to play just 196 games for 4 total teams, an ugly 6-8 average overall. After that, has shoulder problems, partied too much at the meatpacking district of New York, leading to his downfall.
Lasted till age 35 with the Bubble Clippers, but by 2016, Noah already a below average player, from looking like Nikola Jokic with his passing to being one of the worst players in the league. A blink of an eye, always had a broken ugly jumper, decided to play through a bad knee. 2014 playoffs, without the mobility and confidence, the heart and desire can only carry him so far. Isaiah Thomas, at the peak of his powers 2017, one of the most unfortunate players, a tragic sudden downfall, just a year short of a contract season. The final pick of the 2011 draft had little to no expectations. Just 5'9", out of Washington, after promising stints as a lethal scorer with the Kings and Suns, traded to Boston 2015, benefited and used perfectly by Brad Stevens, the go-to scorer, surrounded by defensive specialists, non-scorers in Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, Al Horford, and Amir Johnson, with Marcus Smart off the bench.
The two-time All-Star had an incredible 2017 campaign, averages of 29.6 assists at the very prime of his career, finished 5th for MVP in the trajectory of having a Hall of Fame career, but afterwards ended up just playing 106 total games since, lackluster numbers of 11.7 points, just 3 assists, a miserable 39% shooting from the field, 7 different teams since, an absolute travesty of a downfall. The fact that IT was expecting somewhere between 100 to 200 million 5-year deal from Boston to just making a combined 11 million since the hip injury, one of the most unfortunate careers in recent times.
Remember, for playing with tenacious heart, already banged up with the heavy offensive burden, unsustainable for somebody his size. IT was gonna need surgery by season's end, led his team to the #1 seed, dealt with personal tragedy, the loss of his sister. His 53-point masterpiece versus Washington in Game 2 remains one of the most inspiring performances, but his body totally broke down by the conference finals. Boston, knowing about his hip, traded him for the more talented and younger disgruntled Kyrie Irving. Thomas, still recovering with the struggling LeBron-led Cavs team, simply got all the unnecessary blame when he came back, labeled the scapegoat, became a journeyman since, lost all his explosiveness, became a bigger liability on D, still believing he was superstar material. Heard how the C's traded him, his ego left him a lot of money on the table. Boston even fired their own medical staff, from making second team All-NBA to rock bottom, and no longer consider a useful player, from averaging nearly 30 points a game to 2 years later, just 8 points in 15 minutes, one of the all-time sharpest declines we'll ever see. DeMarcus Cousins, the 4-time All-Star, viewed upon the best center in the game during the mid-2010s.
At 27 years old, Cousins put up monster numbers of 25 points, 13 rebounds, 5.5 assists, played alongside Anthony Davis, but after the devastating career-defining Achilles tear in the final minute versus the Rockets, his career turned upside down. 119 games since, until being out the league, a shell of his former self. Numbers slashed more than half, under 11-point average, just 6.5 rebounds, less than 46% shooting, played for 5 different teams since, pretty much a couple-month rental. Last appeared in an NBA game at age 31.
Sadly, seems him and John Wall heading towards the same path. Every time it appeared he had a chance to come back, the faster he realizes the door's closing for him. Known as a hothead in Sacramento, didn't have a vet to lean on early in his career, turned down 2 years $40 even after the Achilles, made less than $14 million since, still somewhat serviceable off the bench, but lost plenty of his athletic ability, much lower, bad perimeter defender, needs the ball in his hands on offense. The more time passes, the less likely Cousins will be given more opportunities, on verge of being super forgotten. Doesn't seem like any team wants to give him more chances. Kemba Walker, the saddest downfall in recent times, spent most of his career with the losing Charlotte franchise and there's no going back. The 9th pick of the 2011 draft, much more remembered for his incredible game winner in the Big East tournament, led his UConn team to the improbable national title.
The 4-time All-Star had his very best season in 2019. His final year with Charlotte, numbers of 25.6 points, 6 assists, played all 82 games, considered pretty durable with the Hornets at the time, played 605 of a possible 640 games, made 3rd team All-NBA at age 28, compared to his last 2 seasons, just 46 games total with the Knicks, then Dallas, 10.9 points, 3.3 assists, under 41% from the field, way too dependent upon being a one-man show, never requested a trade from a shitty franchise where he had zero chance to win to begin with.
His style of play, relying on his shiftiness and change of speed, especially being just 6 foot and not great on D, his knees gave out on him. After his first year with Boston, the start of his downfall seemed to be in the 2020 All-Star game, played over 29 minutes. With knee soreness, missed the first 5 games post All-Star break afterwards, never the same since. 43 games the following season, needed a stem cell injection on his left knee, traded to OKC, then brought out, signed with the Knicks, had his moments but too inconsistent, continuous knee problems, played 9 games with the Mavs, lasted just 5 weeks before waived in January. Walker, one of those players 100% derailed by injuries, his style built around quickness, no longer able to get to the rim, aged more like 6 years in the 2-year period. Combined with never being better than a 40% outside shooter in any season, Kemba's NBA career more than likely over. John Wall, who never fully made a true recovery after the devastating Achilles tear, after the egregious Supermax travesty of a contract, a shell of himself since. His 2017 prime season of 23 points, 10 assists led Washington to 49 wins, the closest he's been to sniffing the conference finals. Already having knee issues, surgery on both knees summer 2016, the 26-year-old looked like he was about to enter his prime, but once he signed that 4-year 170 extension, things turned south quickly. More knee problems occurred, never played another game for the Wizards after 2018, traded to Houston, played a little bit in 2021, 40 games, a 12-28 record when playing, empty stats, provides no good value, sat out the entire 2022 season, brought out, signed with the Clippers, lasted 34 games, an inefficient 11-point average, under 41% shooting, useless without the ball, little to no off-ball movement, no longer can guard anybody, chucks up bad shots, a negative on both ends, his spot-up jumper regressed, lost 75% of his physical gifts, terrible analytics guy, combined with bad-mouthing the Rockets, ended up traded to his former team, and of course cut. Despite now age 32, Wall plays like he's 38 out there. If he was to be signed, absolutely nothing more than a minimum guy now, not looking good. Honorable mentions includes Eddie Curry and Isaiah Ryder. The former Knicks center averaged nearly 20 points a game in the 07 season with head coach Isaiah Thomas, but after the hiring of Mike D'Antoni's, the run and gun offense, Curry came into many seasons out of shape, didn't take care of his body, the worst possible coach to fit his skills, also dealt with family tragedy, out the league after 2012, while Ryder went from averaging near 20 points with the 2000 Hawks to a bench guy, under 8 points a game for the 01 Lakers. Played another season, out the league by 30. His toughness and stubbornness cost him. A good numbers guy on a bad team, but undisciplined, ran into trouble with the law numerous times, never adjusted his game, pretty much the end of the road. After Kobe destroyed him one-on-one, his attitude simply the main factor why he didn't go down a Hall of Famer.
Honorable mentions: Darren Williams, Stephon Marbury, Lamar Odom, Shawn Kemp, and Amari Stoudemire. D-Will at his very peak in the early 2010s before the ankle problems, already a shell of himself by 2014, out the league by 2017, while Marbury redeemed himself in China when Lamar Odom, after the Lakers traded him, became depressed, battled through drug addictions, and Shawn Kemp gained massive weight during the lockout, especially his time with Orlando. That was tragic. And Amari's knees were shot after 2011, became a role player by 2012. Other stars includes Josh Howard, after a knee injury, a shell of himself after Dallas. Michael Redd, also hampered by injuries, was a beast with the Bucks. Vin Baker battled through alcohol addiction, turned his life around for the better good. Blake Griffin, still holding on to a roster spot with Boston 2023, likely his very last season, and Ralph Sampson's body broke down after the '86 finals. Thank you so much for watching this video. Which NBA player on this list were you shocked by that had the fastest decline? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more content, more good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.